At 12:17, he is standing in the garden behind the house with his phone face down on the glass table. The inbox has just gone quiet. No red numbers, no assistant asking for approval, no board message waiting at the top. He reaches for the edge of his sleeve and smooths it once, very slowly, as if that tiny movement can hold back something larger. The city reflects on the black glass. The air conditioner hums from inside like a machine that never gets tired. Across the yard, the sensor lights fade one row at a time. And nothing dramatic is happening. That may be why it feels so strange. The day after retirement can feel hard because the world stops asking for the version of you that kept everything moving. The calendar opens. The phone gets quieter. The pressure leaves the room, but your body still acts like it is waiting for the next demand. This is not only about missing work. It is about the first morning when your role no longer walks into the room before you do. For years, maybe decades, a person can become used to being contacted before breakfast, pulled into decisions before lunch, and measured by what they can solve before the day is over. Even if the work was exhausting, it gave shape to time. It gave a reason to stand up quickly. It gave the day a center. Then retirement arrives, and people may say all the right things. You made it. Enjoy yourself. Take it easy. Rest. But the body may not understand that sentence yet. The body may still wake early, already bracing for something. The mind may still scan for what is urgent, what is pending, what is about to go wrong. And when nothing appears, the quiet can feel less like peace and more like an empty hallway. The hard part is not always the absence of work. Sometimes it is the absence of being urgently expected. One common reason is that work gave the day a structure long before it gave it meaning. A former CEO may believe the company was the stressful part, but the rhythm around the company also carried him. The calendar told him where to be, the inbox told him what mattered, and people around him reacted to his choices in real time. So on the first full day after retirement, when there is no 8:30 call and no one waiting outside the conference room, he may walk from the kitchen to the garden and feel oddly unfinished. The freedom is real, but the shape of the day has disappeared. Sometimes, it comes from the way identity gets built through being useful. When a person spends years as the one who answers, approves, decides, and absorbs pressure, being useful becomes almost invisible. It stops feeling like something he does and starts feeling like the proof that he is still necessary. So when the company can continue without him, even in a way he hoped it would, there can be a quiet ache underneath the relief. He may look at the silent phone and know, logically, that this is healthy succession, but still feel a small sting in the chest. Being free from the role can still feel like being erased by it. There's also a quieter reason. The pressure may leave before the person knows how to live without pressure. For a long time, stress may have been the thing that kept his attention from spreading too wide. Decisions came fast, conflicts arrived quickly, and every hour had a reason to tighten around something. When that force disappears, old feelings can finally come closer, not because life has fallen apart, but because there is room for them now. So he may stand under a dark patio umbrella, listening to the air conditioner behind the glass doors, and realize the silence is not empty. It is full of everything he never had time to feel. Picture him the next morning, just after 6 o'clock, walking through the house in a button-down shirt even though there is nowhere to be. The coffee machine clicks. The kitchen is clean. His spouse has left a mug near the sink, a small sign of normal life, but the house feels strangely formal around him. He opens his phone, not because he expects something urgent, but because his hand remembers the motion. For a second, he almost checks the old company thread. Then he stops. Not because he is proud, not because he is above it, just because he knows the message stream is no longer his place. He sets the phone down and looks out toward the garden. The same glass table is there from the night before, still showing a faint reflection of the city. He feels relieved, embarrassed, and a little lost all at once. If you've been there, you're not strange. You might know someone who lives like this. This is what the first day after retirement can look like when the title leaves faster than the body can adjust. It is not loud. It is not a collapse. It is a man smoothing his sleeve in the dark because the old version of his life no longer knows where to put its hands. And there is a particular sadness in that. Not a dramatic sadness. More like standing in a room after the music has stopped, still feeling the beat in your chest. For many people, retirement is imagined as a finish line. The last email, the last speech, the last official photo, the handshake, the dinner, the applause, the soft jokes about golf, travel, and sleeping in. But the day after is different. The day after has no ceremony. It simply arrives. No one claps for breakfast. No one announces the first quiet hour. No one explains why the silence feels heavier than the work ever did. That is why the smallest details can hit so hard. A badge in a drawer, a parking pass left in the car, a laptop bag still leaning against the wall out of habit. The familiar object remains, but the old permission attached to it is gone. A person may not miss the stress. He may miss the clarity. Because pressure, even when it is tiring, can make life feel obvious. This matters. That can wait. This person is calling because the answer comes from me. This meeting is mine to lead. This problem lands on my desk. After retirement, the question becomes softer and harder. What matters when nothing is demanding an answer? That question can feel uncomfortable because it has no quick metric. There is no quarterly report for feeling at home in your own time. No board approval for walking slowly. No clean chart that says a person is still valuable when the phone stays quiet. And for someone who lived inside achievement for years, unmeasured time can feel suspicious. It can feel as if life is asking for a new language. One small way through this is to let the first quiet days be awkward without turning that awkwardness into a personal failure. A person might make the morning visible again in a very simple way. Coffee at the same chair, a short walk to the mailbox, 10 minutes in the garden without checking the phone. Not as a performance of peace, and not as a new productivity system. Just a way of telling the body, the day still has edges, even when no one else is drawing them. This works because the mind often settles better with gentle shape than with wide-open emptiness. It can also help to separate the role from the person by naming what actually remains. Not in a grand way, just plainly, the ability to notice details remains. The patience learned from long meetings remains. The care for people remains. The capacity to sit with complex things remains. The title may be gone, but not every part of the person went with it. Sometimes a former leader can write one short line at the end of the day. Today, I was not in charge, and I was still here. That line may feel small, but it speaks to the exact place where retirement can hurt. Because the hardest part may not be losing the job. It may be discovering how much of the self had been standing inside the job, waiting to be recognized. And there is something else here that people rarely say out loud. The day after retirement can bring a strange kind of grief for the pressure itself. Not because the pressure was healthy all the time. Not because anyone wants to go back to the endless calls and difficult decisions. But pressure can become familiar. It can become a companion. Even an uncomfortable one. It fills space. It gives the mind something to fight, solve, or outrun. Without it, the person may finally meet the quiet room underneath. And that room can feel unfamiliar. A retired CEO in a garden at night may look powerful from the outside. Nice house, clean patio, city lights in the glass, years of success behind him. But inside, he may feel like a beginner again, standing at the edge of a life that no longer calls him by his old name. This is for people who looked powerful from the outside, but felt unsteady the moment the room went quiet. The day after retirement is hard because it asks a simple question with no applause around it. Who are you when the world stops needing your old pace? There may not be a perfect answer on the first morning. There may only be the hum of the air conditioner, the dark glass table, the phone staying silent, and one small breath before going back inside. But maybe that is where the new life begins to become real. Not in the celebration. Not in the speech. In the quiet afterward, when there is nothing to prove, and the person is still there.